consciousness implies already that it's complete, full and whole. So there is no more separation, and therefore the mind is no longer looking for other kinds of things which deeply, inherently are all pointing back to this full consciousness, to the true home. So on this journey towards returning back to the full consciousness, there are many steps, and as in any journey, there are different places which we need to travel through to reach that final resting place. So these steps are defined in the map of spirituality, and this is one of my main tools, I could say, and the teaching methods, where very clearly we can see and define every step on the way and to know exactly where we are. It is like a GPS guiding us to the final destination. So without a GPS, people are really uncertain, unsure where they are, if there is a next step or what is that next step. And many times people, very often get stuck and they can't find a way out. So it is really good to have a reference point and to know exactly where we are and what's the next step, what will be the challenges and what will be the good things, so that we are fully supported on this journey, returning back to the full consciousness. Yes. we have we have a whole support team down there. They're singing songs and clapping for us, because here we do all the light work, all the energy work, and they just sing nice songs and support in a nice way. Okay. So today's topic is presence and non-duality. This is a bit of more advanced topic, but it's good to know for everyone and to start to get an idea of what that is. So presence, very simply put, it's a field of space or a field of energy. And in that field of space, we are beyond the mind. So many of you know the term here and now. And this term is usually annotated in a very childish way as live in the moment and don't care about anything else. So that annotation is actually called irresponsibility. And this is why usually adults look quite skeptically at the here and now, because they see the youngsters enjoying their life, and don't worrying about the future and anything else. So that is a wrong idea of the here and now. The real here and now is actually a full responsibility of every moment of your experience. It is a full responsibility of your mental state, emotional state, and your energetic vibration, which you send out every moment. So, for example, if you are very angry and you go out in public and you start, let's say, talking to other people, or you're riding a bus, then other people will feel that energy. And many times while driving in the bus, you go out and you say, wow, suddenly I feel angry for no reason, because somebody else was. And we have ability of empathy, and we feel other people's feelings, emotions, and we pick up on them. So full responsibility of your mental, emotional, and energetic vibratory state means that every moment you're fully aware of what your energy field is transmitting, and you are responsible for your energy field, for what you send out to the universe. So here and now means being behind the mind, the emotions, and the energy. And therefore then you can define that you are fully present, you are in the moment. And in that moment, what it means that in the present moment, you are not caught up in the past or in the future. And looking at people, usually you can see they're totally living in the future, or in the past, regrets and doubts and so on, or worries about the future. So literally I came to see, and through the years of working with people, that people are only 5 to 7% present in the moment, and other 95% they are lost in their mind, whether past or future. So very rarely people are actually fully here and fully aware of their mind, of what is actually happening. Or that awareness comes for a few seconds and instantly the mind takes over and continues its own story. So that is called the conditioning and being caught up in the past and future, in this duality. So the real present moment is already a very responsible state of spirituality, we can call it, or a very responsible state of living, because you are fully aware of where your mind is going and what's in the energy field and what is happening. Non-duality already means beyond duality. And the major duality is past and future. This is the major duality. But we experience so many emotions and feelings which are very dual. One moment we're happy and then something flips and we're sad. One moment we're joyous, something flips and we're angry. And these are dual energies, dual emotions. So stepping into non-duality is already a beginning of the true happiness. Because if the happiness is dual, then anything can take it away, isn't it? It makes sense. If the peace is dual, then anything can take your peace away. So reaching non-duality means that you attain permanent peace. You can attain, and depending on your focus, you can attain permanent happiness, or any other kind of more permanent feelings which are not affected by the changing nature of reality, by the changing nature of emotions and energies. So the real message is that yes, there is a place of permanent happiness. Yes, there is a place of permanent peace. Yes, there is a place of permanent bliss, which is basically illumination of light. And yes, there is a permanent place of the full absolute awareness, consciousness. It is called Satchitananda, which means existence, consciousness, bliss. So therefore there is a really big, we could say, a pot of gold, right in front of you. a really big jackpot or a honeycomb full of honey, you know. And that place is the final resting place. And that is referred to as the full consciousness. Any questions so far about presence, non-duality, or anything comes particular in your mind? Okay, so I assume everybody knows already everything, yes. We have a super advanced group over here. Yes, and the main practice is, as a first step towards presence, non-duality, full consciousness, the first step is to observe yourself, to kind of zoom out of yourself, kind of going back behind yourself, zooming out, and to start observing what is actually happening inside you. And right there you will start to see, oh my gosh, my mind's a mess. Well, that is a first recognition, an honest recognition. That moment you become fully honest and truthful to yourself. That is a first step. That is a good beginning. Identification of the problem. If you know the problem, you will find a solution. If you ignore the problem, then life continues and it continues and it continues. And then things go worse and worse and worse, you know. Or sometimes we just are caught up with life and we forget. But sooner or later life will ring a bell of awakening. And it will say, hey, you need to wake up. You know, there's more deeper reality. There's more beauty to life. So life will always ring that bell. And that bell usually might be a challenging one. Unless you are already in a good relationship with life. Then you already know about these bells and you are fully with them, and then you can easily move forward. So the first step is to start to create more space and to start to observe yourself. To observe what is happening in your mind. What emotions are arising. What emotions are present. What feelings are here. And you start right now with this present moment. You know, you don't need to make a plan for the next, I'll do the next week. No, every moment you can just zoom out of yourself and say, okay, let me see what is now. What is inside me now. Then the first challenge you will meet is that the mind will take over you very quickly. You will go back, observe yourself, and then your mind will give you something interesting or something, something irritating, So you will either start to think what you're going to have for the dinner tonight, or what you forgot to do, or all kinds of problems. And then you will return, like you will kind of crash back into your body. So that is a practice, yes? It doesn't come so easy. It's a practice to step back and to start seeing what is happening inside you right now. And the second step is to develop strength, patience, and space of presence in which you can actually be present or be with what is happening inside you. So that strength is basically developing a space and strength from your mind's energy, so that your mind doesn't grab you and pull you down again into the thought patterns. So there is a certain strength needed for you to remain in that space in which you are not caught up, and therefore you can be present with what is flowing through you. So that is an introduction to the practical side of practicing presence and as a path towards non-duality, and with the deeper degree of presence, more and more consciousness opens up, and therefore presence becomes the main practice to return to the full consciousness. So today's meditation, today's practice will be about presence, developing. I will guide for everybody to start with self-observation and then to go further into presence if you can go there, of course. So you can go as deep as you can. And we will start right at the surface and we go deeper, 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 however deep you can go. Okay, any questions?
Yes. I'm thinking about what you say about being the observer. And then I'm thinking, while you're observing, you obviously observe, so you can see your thoughts or your emotions. But how is that different? Because I'm thinking, okay, so you're the observer, you're observing it.
Yes.
But it's also a recognition of I am feeling that, I am thinking that.
Yes.
So you're also doing it.
In the first instant, you detach from I'm thinking that, I'm doing that. You detach as a neutral observer.
Mm-hmm. But when you observe it and you say, like if I look at myself and I'm thinking about, I'm observing myself and I'm seeing, for example, okay, you seem confused, for example. But then I'm like the observer, but I'm also the one like being the confused one. Like, well, I'm not in trouble separating, I think.
Yes, exactly. So as a first step, it's a practical thing. And as a first step, and we will do that, is to enter in a meditative state. Then we enter into the observer. And then we enter into presence.
So it's kind of degrees of separation.
Yes. There are these steps of deepening into a deeper space. If you are already experienced, you can jump right into presence instantly. Or you can take step-by-step approach, which is easier and well, it is needed for most of everyone to go step by step, because you need to slowly go deeper and to allow your mind to transcend and to go into that space of observation. Transcendental meditation is another practice. It's a very similar practice, but it has many limitations. So it's useful for a certain period, but then there are limitations of that, because in a deeper state of consciousness, more and more presence and self-inquiry is needed, rather than just transcending into the space of nothing and then being in the nothing, So there's more things than nothing. So transcendental meditation has a limitation of entering into the nothingness and not being able to transcend transcendence in a way. So this was like a roundup of the theoretical aspect of presence and non-duality, but obviously the theory is only needed to understand what we are doing and what is it for, while the practice is the actual progress and is the actual evolution towards that. Some people can go very fast, some people take a bit longer, but practice makes it perfect. And in any kind of meditation, it is always coming back and coming back to that deeper place. So it doesn't matter how many times your mind will come back and it will try to distract you. It is about your strength to return and to continue. So there is no failure. The failure is only if you don't continue, if you give up, So that is the only kind of failure. But to recognize that you went out of meditation or your practice, and then you just simply need to return and continue. So there is no failure and there is no judgment, so there's nothing really to worry about, but just to make your best effort, just to do your best. Okay. Any more questions?
To continue on what you were saying, to have it clear, and you were saying, because I would like your kind of clarification on this. So you were saying that you're the observer, and then you see yourself and you see your emotion and your thoughts, and then at one point you stay with that emotion and the thoughts.
Yes.
And probably it's interesting, because when I stay with the emotion and the thoughts, I also feel that I sometimes go from the observer into the becoming that.
Yes.
Can you go on this? What happens next?
So you stay with the emotion or with your mind, but you don't stay in the emotion or in your mind. So to make a visual picture, imagine that, let's say the emotion or the mind is like a river. So you stay with the river, which means you're on the shore and you're with it. You're seeing it, observing it, you are with it. But you're not in the river and you're not wet. You're not affected by where the river is flowing. And this is a great power. That is already a great power. And that is a reminder to step out of that river into that space of observation where you are no longer subjected to the flow of the river. So it is staying with, or in a very practical way, you will feel that certain emotion or energy is like in front of you, and you can imagine it's like a bubble. And you are not in the bubble, but you are holding it. And you are simply being with it. So you are being with anger, or with sadness, or with frustration, or with resistance. So you're being with it, not in it. You're not acting it out, you're not being drawn into it or contemplating why I got angry. No, it's not a mental exercise. It is a deeper exercise of holding that emotion as your kitty or as your baby. So you're holding that emotion as the unconditional mother. And this unconditional mother is called compassion. And that is called self-compassion. Because you are that which holds that difficulty. And you are with it. You're not trying to get rid of it or to diminish it or to block it. This is what people usually do. And this goes nowhere, because what you suppress, it just comes back. What you resist, it will persist. So you, by being with it, just like when the mother is holding a baby, the baby calms down. Why? Because it receives that energy of love and compassion. And this way you can practice this self-compassion It's a really beautiful practice. It's a practice of presence and ultimately transcending all energies, all thoughts, all feelings, all energies. And it is a very liberating practice. So that was a really good question, and it is now much more clear. So it's stepping back, and holding. At first it might be difficult, but then you kind of need a bit of detachment so that you're not drawn into that bubble. But then with a bit of strength, then you're able to hold it. And as you know, some feelings are very strong. They're very challenging. Some energies are very strong and very challenging. But that makes your presence stronger. That roots you more and more into a wider awareness, and that strengthens your full consciousness. So that practice is one of the most important practices.